Now, you might be wondering what kind of criteria are being used to evaluate a specific intervention. The OECD, specifically its Development Assistance Committee, DAC, has established 6 criteria that answer different questions. Relevance, which answers the question of, is the intervention doing the right things? The extent to which the intervention conforms to the needs of key stakeholders and aligns with organizational mandates and policies. Coherence is about how well the intervention fits. We are looking at the compatibility of the intervention with other interventions in a country, sector, or institution. Effectiveness answers the question of, is the intervention achieving its objectives? The extent to which intended outcome level results are being achieved. Efficiency relates to the extent to which resources and inputs are managed and used in an optimal way. Impact answers the question of what difference is the intervention making. It examines the lasting changes, positive and negative, intended and unintended, arising from the intervention. And finally, sustainability answers, will the benefits last? It demonstrates the degree to which processes started and results obtained are likely to remain in place after the intervention completion. In addition to these 6 criteria, UN entities must consider human rights and gender equality principles and standards in the design, implementation, and evaluation processes of all interventions, regardless of whether these issues are the focus of the intervention itself. For us at UNICEF, evaluations go a step further. Child rights responsive evaluations assess the degree to which changes to child development issues are a result of a UNICEF intervention and help demonstrate that UNICEF is an effective and transparent learning organization. These evaluations recognize power relations and the structural and other causes that give rise to inequities, discrimination, and unfair power relations, and they provide information for implementing programs that can lead to effective social transformation in the lives of children. We will now continue by explaining the difference between an evaluation design and an evaluation approach. The evaluation design is essentially a framework of how you will collect and analyze your data. It all starts with the main evaluation question. This way, you will know what data you will have to collect and analyze to be able to answer that question, as well as the scope of the evaluation. For this, you will need to know the theory of change of your project. In other words, the pathways through which your project or program is looking at particular challenge on how that will be addressed, combining the inputs, such as funding, with the activities, leading to the outputs and how these outputs lead to the outcomes of interest and eventually to the impact, as well as taking into account the assumptions and risks that will, in most cases, influence or affect how the program is going to be implemented. The evaluation approach is the integrated package of methods or processes that are often developed to address evaluation questions or challenges. A developmental evaluation is an approach appropriate for evaluations of adaptive and emergent interventions, such as social change initiatives or projects operating in complex and uncertain environments. Appreciative inquiry is an approach that focuses on existing strengths rather than deficiencies or gaps of a particular evaluation, and is normally used to identify instances of good practice and how the frequency of these practices can be increased. In participatory evaluation, you want to involve a range of stakeholders, including the intended beneficiaries, in conducting the evaluation and making decisions about the evaluation. Since evaluations don't happen in silos, it is very common to include the intended beneficiaries not only as sources of data, but also for brainstorming. The utilization-focused evaluation focuses mostly on the intended primary users and looks at how the findings will be used and let this guide the decisions you take throughout the project. Theory-based evaluations look at the conceptual framework, how to get from the inputs to the desired outcomes and impact. Case studies focus on a particular unit. whether it's a person or a project, within the context where it's been implemented or situated. Evaluation methodologies refer to the data collection techniques and tools that will be used to gather evidence to address the evaluation questions of interest. You can have quantitative or qualitative techniques. Quantitative data are those that can be measured in numbers. Indicators of quantitative data, for example, are number of water pumps installed, amount of rice harvested, percentage of children immunized, HIV prevalence rate, student-teacher ratio, and the frequency of attending class. Quantitative tools are, for example, surveys, monitoring data, aptitude and behavioral tests, and satellite and geographic information system, GIS. Qualitative data reflects people's judgments, opinions, perceptions, and attitudes. Examples are perception of well-being, appropriateness of intervention, quality of engagement, level of commitment, or sense of empowerment. Qualitative tools are, for example, key informant interviews, focus groups, direct observation, documents, or storytelling, such as oral history or life history interviews. The best, however, is what we call mixed methods, a mix of both qualitative and quantitative data. The advantage of this is that the limitations of one type of technique or method are being balanced by the strength of another. And the last purpose for mixed methods is triangulation, which basically means that you are verifying the findings from, for example, a qualitative method with a quantitative method. Finally, it is important to always take into account cross-cutting issues and principles such as gender equity, human rights. With this, we have come to the end of the first learning series. Thanks so much for participating, and we hope you now know more about the fundamentals of evaluation. In future sessions, we will cover additional topics like how to manage an evaluation, national evaluation capacity development, and more. Stay tuned.